I'm ready.
All right. Welcome back to the School of Greatness podcast. We got my man Scooter Braun in the studio. What's up, brother?
It's good to see you, man. I'm
Good to see you.
really excited. We've talked about doing this for a while.
For a while, yeah. We originally connected through your brother, Adam, who I'm friends with. And
you're wearing the T-shirt.
Wearing the T-shirt, got to represent and support.
Pencils of Promise, I like it.
And we when we met at South by, I actually met you a couple years ago at the gala for like a brief second. You probably don't remember. And then
I don't remember you. You did not make a mark. No, I'm kidding. I remember you.
And then we met at we met in South by. We played some basketball.
We had a good time.
It was a good time. Yeah.
We went out on that court. We got busy.
It was fun, man.
On that Texas court.
It was fun. I got some random facts, common facts about us to start the show. It's common facts. One is we both played basketball, football, and swimming growing up.
Yes, we did.
You were a swimmer as well?
Yes, I was.
How many years?
For years on the Greenwich Dolphins. In fact, John Waters, I just couldn't beat him, and that's probably what discouraged me from continuing to swim. And then he was like an alternate in the Olympics, so I probably should have kept swimming.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy. So you played football too?
I played football until 9th grade, and then I
Okay.
got serious about basketball and realized I wasn't that big. So
Yep.
but I was all about hitting people as a middle schooler.
Okay, cool. So those are common facts. We also both played college basketball.
That is true.
You played at Emory.
Yeah, well, I did for the time I was there, kind of. Yeah.
You were there for 2 years, right?
Well, kind of, not even.
And then we also both played sports at Emory because I did a decathlon at Emory.
You did?
Yeah, I competed there one time. It's a beautiful campus, actually.
Yes, it was.
The
I was there a lot, and they thought I was a student.
But you weren't a student.
I'd already dropped out by then.
How old were you when you dropped out? 19 or
19.
20?
I was 19.
That's incredible. We both used to promote events.
Yes.
You were an event promoter in college?
Yes, that I was for a long time. I was a party promoter and event promoter until I was probably 25.
Okay. Very cool. I used to promote like these LinkedIn networking events when I first started back in 2005.
So you were trying to like do nice things and like bring people together.
Not like drunk and like
I was the
celebs.
drunk.
Yeah.
I was the drunk and like Sierra singing 1-2 Step and like,
trying to get out the bottles and
No, I wasn't. I was selling them.
You were selling them. Yeah,
I had no interest in drinking them. I was selling them.
But did you drink ever when you were doing the parties?
No, not when I worked. I never drank.
You never drank. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, if certain cases, I might do a shot here and there with a couple buddies.
Yeah.
But I was about the business.
So Jay-Z's like, hey, let's do a shot. You're not going to shy away.
Yeah, I wouldn't shy away from Jay-Z, but it was Atlanta, so it was more like Jeezy. It was like,
Gotcha.
he was like, hello, man, I'm the snowman. Take a shot with me.
We both sit on the board of Pencil Promise.
Yes, we do.
And we both believe in the hustle and the grind.
We do. We actually do. But the real thing, and we're not talking about the Terrence Howard movie.
Right.
It's a little bit different. Hustle and Flow. We're about hustle and grind. That's our movie.
Exactly.
You're Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard?
Yeah, I feel like you're the Terrence Howard in this group.
Okay.
I'm just the chick.
You're the chick. Now, what I'm curious about, I've been doing a lot of research about you. Obviously, I've heard about you from your brother, but as I've been preparing for this, I'm curious to know what your actual dream was as a kid. Because I know about your family, and I've met your family, your parents are incredible, but what was your dream to be, I'm going to drop out of school and promote these parties with celebrities? No. Like, what did you actually want?
When I was a kid, I just wanted, no one told me that a 5'11" Jew wasn't highly likely to make it to the NBA.
They didn't?
No, so I was watching
they gave you hope?
I was watching Mark Price and John Stockton.
I have a chance.
Every like 6-foot white guard the NBA had to offer. I was the kid who would go on like NBA, live and create my player. And he just had a ridiculous jumper and had more hops than I'll ever have.
Wow.
But that was like my dream. And then I read, it was one summer I read one of Phil Jackson's books. And then I was like, well,
Sacred
maybe.
Hoops?
Yeah. And then I was
Great book, man.
I was kind of like, I want to be a coach. And then I thought maybe be a lawyer, maybe be a politician because I was class president in my high school. So I thought going to politics, I did the whole boys state thing.
Yeah.
And then, I wanted to be in entertainment there for a little while. My brother was always the guy with the 5-year plan. I was kind of like, we'll just see what tomorrow brings, but I'm going to keep working.
Adam does everything planned out, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. And what happened was I ended up in Atlanta, started throwing parties, never been to a nightclub before college, threw parties because after selling fake IDs, it was a legal way to make money. I I like how your cameraman just made a face like, oh my God, he said it out loud. It's okay. I don't do that anymore. And it was very short lived. So, but
how did you make those? Did you have a printer? Did you
know what it was? I didn't make them. I didn't make them. There was a buddy of mine who made them, and he made great fake New York IDs. But he just had a really, really bad way of selling them. He was a bad salesman.
So you were great at like saying, "Hey, I can get you in this club."
Well, no, not even that. I just said, "There's a way to do this where you're not going to get caught, and we can make more money. You just have to be smarter." And I would tell you, but then college kids would start doing this, and I'd probably get in trouble and be liable for them going to jail. So I'm going to just say, don't make fake IDs. I did it. It was like a 2-month thing. He broke one of my rules of what I said. Look, if you ever break these rules, I'm out. And he broke it, and he said, what are you, crazy, everything else? And I said, no, I'm out. I told you don't break these rules. And I quit cold turkey.
Wow.
And then went by a nightclub called Chaos in Atlanta. And I said, can I bring some people here next Thursday night and give you some money? And my first party was a Paradox and then Chaos then Paradox. And they gave me like $800 cash. Knowing what I know now, they probably owed me $8,000.
Right.
But that was the first $800 legally I'd ever made.
Wow.
In that short amount of time, and I just bugged out because my summer job coaching basketball was like $1,600 for the whole summer.
Like every day grinding,
like
and
6
plus
hours taxes,
a day, right?
So
I made half as much in one night.
And I bugged out, and then I started learning the business of promoting. Funny enough, from a guy named Alex Gidewan, who was I was the only white boy at Alex's parties.
Sure.
But Alex taught me about a cut line. He taught me about how to create the hype and kind of the secondary market of Atlanta, like how to promote. And then I went to Miami and ended up promoting parties for a long time.
And how many people did you get at your first promotion, your first gig? I read somewhere 800, but I don't know.
Yeah, probably about 800 to 1,000.
Now, how did you get that many people at your first time when you're a 19-year-old white punk?
Yeah, freshman in college.
Who believed in you and trusted you?
My first party was all the college kids.
Sure.
And what it was, but no freshmen were pulling like that. And what I did was I realized everybody wants to go where the freshman girls go.
Oh.
At a college party. And I had a high school sweetheart at the time, so the girls didn't feel threatened. I could dance a little bit, so they knew they'd have a good time with me on that dance floor. And I got 3 really cute, awesome girls, and I went to Kinko's and I made my own flyers.
Shut up.
And we flyered the campus, and I told these girls I could give you free drinks if you get people there. And
wow.
Sure enough, 800 people came, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this. Let's keep trying.
Wow.
So one thing led to another, and then I became a very big party promoter.
So you did that for a couple of years, right? And then
probably for about 6 years.
6 years?
Oh, yeah. I was a party promoter until I was like 25.
And you dropped out of college right after, about a year after you started, I'm assuming?
I started. It got really big, and then I started working with a young rapper with his manager, Shaka, and his other manager, Jeff. His name was Ludacris.
Sure.
And he had a song called Throw Them Bows, and I started working that song, and that was my first exposure to the music business. And then there was another guy named Jermaine Dupri who he came to my parties, he loved them, and then he said, I got to meet with you. And I'll never forget, Jermaine's like not the tallest individual.
He's short, right?
He's probably like 5'4". I don't even know how tall he is. He'll say 5'6".
So you're almost eye level.
Oh, nice try. 5'11". Look, I love how tall people always like to talk shit. They love talking shit. All right. So
short people are usually smarter, so we have to have something.
It's okay, we are. Look, I'm like more than average. All right,
no,
he's just a huge human being. So what happened was Jermaine took me to. I'll never forget. He took me downstairs to this nightclub, and he wanted to talk alone. And he got on this stool, and he's so short that his feet were dangling. And he's like, "Man, I'm gonna get you living in mansions, and these parties aren't gonna be there. And come work for me at So Def." And I said, "Okay." And I went and worked for So Def for 3 years, and dropped out of school. And I still remember when he gave me like my So Def puffy jacket, like it's kind of like a starter jacket, but it had So Def and a scooter on it. I thought I was the coolest guy in the whole world. So I was like, money ain't a thing.
So you made a name for yourself, and he was like, okay, this guy can consistently bring in people.
He used to call me his Lior to his Russell Simmons. So
that's funny.
Little Lior, White Puff. I had a lot of cool little nicknames back then.
So what did you start doing for him? So you learned a lot in this promotional business. It sounds like you learned a lot, just like guerrilla marketing basically, and being creative. What did you learn while at the next level, and what were you doing specifically for him? Was it more marketing artists and
it was
records?
It was marketing artists. It was building outside campaigns. I was the vice president of marketing at So Def Records. I was 20 years old.
Wow!
And we went on this crazy run where when I signed on with Jermaine, he didn't even have distribution yet. He signed on new distribution, and then we did Jay Quan, Tipsy. We did Anthony Hamilton. We did the Young Bloods, and then we did Usher Confessions. Jermaine executive produced that, and that's how me and Usher became close because we were in the studio every night. In fact, Confessions Part 1 almost didn't happen because I was trying to get them to come to the nightclub with me.
No way.
And they kicked me out of the studio.
Wow.
Smart move, guys. But yeah, I was still learning. And while I was doing that, I was trying to create my own artist. So I was spending all my money on the side.
Is this Asher or is this?
No, this was early on. These were acts that people don't know about because it was while I was still learning.
Sure.
You know, so I had this act, OD, and that fell apart because they robbed a bunch of banks in Atlanta and the FBI shut them down. And they got caught because our mixtape I paid for to put out, they were posing, and the FBI finally identified them from our mixtape that we flooded Atlanta with. And then I had this artist Kato, who's part of OD, who I was very close with, and I just financed everything for a long time. I mean, I paid for the mixes, the masters, the housing. I mean, it was just like I was understanding how to develop an artist, and I learned a lot from that experience because I failed.
What were some of the big lessons you learned early on, you think, with that?
Well, I learned how to make records, first of all. I mean, I learned the mixing, the mastering. I learned the radio promotion side independently because I was working record independently. I learned, you know, how to trust my gut at the right time. And I hear all the time of like, oh, everything you sign, you know, blows up. But I had a lot of failures before Asher Roth happened. And Asher was kind of a new beginning for me because it was the first time I did it without SOSODEF, so my back was against the wall. It was all my money. I had no income coming in. I refused to do parties.
You had everything to lose, basically.
Everything. I mean, literally, I will never forget. I'm actually moving into my new house with my wife now, and I looked around. I said, I can't believe we live here because I remember paying for pizza with change. You know, I remember I ordered this pizza and I realized I didn't have any money, and I had to wait till the next party the following week. And I paid for pizza with change, and then I was quit parties cold turkey because I said if I have to throw a party again, I failed. So I had enough money when I signed Asher to, you know, live for about 13 months my lifestyle, and then I was going to go broke. And I signed Asher and Justin within 4 months of each other, and I put everything into them. I mean, housing, studio time, you know, paying for the tutor, paying for the furniture, paying, you know, everything. And I really believed in these guys, and it makes it all worth it now because it was, you know, I was far away from home. I couldn't go home. I wasn't asking my dad for money since I was 18. And I had to make it on my own. And the idea of failing wasn't an option.
Did you ever think that one of them wouldn't, or both of them wouldn't be successful in their own way, or that they wouldn't work out, or you would have to find another way to make money after this 12 months?
I really believed in both of them. When I found Asher, I knew exactly what it could be. What Asher also taught me, though, is sometimes artists don't want to be as big as you want them to be. Asher was super happy being who he was. And I had this vision to make him the biggest artist in the world. And, you know, we had so much hype, and that wasn't what he wanted. And, you know, he's one of my closest friends now. He's my brother for life. And he just put out a video the other day kind of chronicling the whole journey we've had together for himself. And it was really nice to see because, you know, he just wanted to make music and enjoy his life and never really be famous. And, you know, and he's achieved that, and he's done very well for himself. And he had the big hit. He had the #3 album. And, you know, it was a struggle for me. With Justin was like, make me the biggest.
Right.
Let's go. Like,
perfect.
You know, and, you know, he was very much like me.
Yeah.
And we, you know, grinded, and he was a young man, and, you know, it was a different thing. But, you know, when Asher made I Love College, it was in the basement of this house I was renting, this crap hole that like had rats everywhere. We used to call it the greenhouse because the truth is he was smoking so much weed down there. But that night he wasn't smoking weed because he never smoked when Justin was around. But he recorded I Love College, and Justin actually was in the studio. He was with studio. It was like a little crap room in the basement. You know, my buddy was doing engineering. But we all kind of came up together, and there's this really great picture of me, Asher, and Justin on the front porch of that house. And no one knew Justin was. I mean, there's videos of Asher and me with Ludacris, and everyone's hyped because Asher and Ludacris are in the same room. And they don't notice there's this little kid sitting behind us.
Chilling.
It's Justin.
And he was 12 when this?
He was at that time 13, 14.
When you first had him move to Atlanta?
Yeah, he was 13 when I had him move. I found him when he was, the videos he was 12.
Yeah.
But he, you know, just the whole adventure to kind of, you respect everything so much more. And it also reminds you when you get money that tomorrow isn't promised.
Yeah.
And you value everything, you know, because you know what it's like to be a big promoter and have all kinds of money, and then literally be paying for pizza with change because you spent it all trying to make it. You know, so
and promoting also, you're trading your time for the one event. You're like promoting for one event, and then you got to make money at another event.
Yeah, you're going party to party, and it was the best learning experience. The Atlanta hustle taught me so much.
Wow.
And kind of the you know, when you're in a cash business and there aren't contracts, like your word is all you have.
That's it.
And you know, having that experience and being able to shake someone's hand and know that that's powerful and means something, it was a very valuable lesson.
Wow. Now the money you had for this 12 or 13 months to bring on your 2 clients, I heard you brokered a deal with, was it Pontiac and Ludacris? Is that what happened? Now, how did this come about? And
well, I had it from the
like
parties and that, but it was I was leaving So Def. Jermaine and I were kind of agreeing that it was time to go separate ways. I was disagreeing with kind of certain marketing ideas. I had all these ideas for social media, and I just was getting frustrated. You know, I wanted to sign different acts, and I got great advice. One from my dad, who said, "Look, if you work for someone, shut up and do what they want at the end of the day, or do it on your own, and you know, put up or shut up kind of thing." And then I saw Little John at a nightclub in London, and he said he worked for Jermaine for 12 years, and he had this idea for Little John, but Jermaine was focused on what he was focused on. And he said he finally left, and he said, "Don't take 12 years. If you have an idea that you believe in, go after your dream." And I was like, "Yeah." No, that's not what happened, but that would have been awesome.
That would have been
great. But yeah, it was an interesting time, and that Pontiac deal, Ludacris had just got, you know, unfairly judged by O'Reilly, who was kind of calling him gangster rap, and anyone who knows Ludacris knows that it's nothing like gangster rap.
Yeah.
And he kind of lost all his endorsement deals. And I told Shaka, "Let me get you an endorsement deal." And he said, "Look, the agency's not getting us anything right now. If you can bring anything in, sure." And
you just broke it a standard 10 or 20% commission or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and what happened was he had a song called 2 Miles an Hour. And I said, we can do a card deal with that. And I started looking and calling around, and I bought an Escalade, you know, a couple of years earlier. And the guy who I bought it from owned the dealership, you know, I'd become friends with, and he told me that, you know, the Pontiac, you know, was coming with campaigns, and he had asked around. So I called up the Pontiac, and I said I was a student writing for a student paper. You know, how do I do this? They said, we have an agency. I called the agency. I said the same lie. I finally got this woman on the phone thinking she was going to do an interview to talk about how she decides the Pontiac campaigns. And I said, "Can I come see you in person?" I did. And I pitched her Ludacris. She said she got a kick out of the fact that I got to her.
Wow.
And the movie Crash was coming out, which featured Ludacris. And she said, "I'm not really interested in Ludacris," but I said, "Well, come see the movie." And she saw the movie, and she was blown away by him. And she took a chance on me and on Ludacris, and we did the Pontiac Solstice deal. And here's the best part. They sent down for the video. They let us shoot our own video with Brian Barber directing, who's a big director and a friend of mine. He'd done all the Outkast stuff, a bunch of Ludacris videos. And they sent down the prototype of the Pontiac Solstice and said, "Look, you can't drive this on the regular streets. You have to just have it at the video shoot and have it, you know." But I couldn't afford at the time to pay for the shipping of the car from my house where they dropped it off on a flatbed and everything. I was trying to cut every corner.
It's like $5,000 or whatever to transfer it.
For people to understand, a prototype of a car is like $1 million, even though it looks exactly like the regular car.
Yeah.
When it's the first one, it's the So I drove that thing.
Oh my gosh.
From my house down the highway to the video shoot.
You're driving like 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, I just drove it, and I just said, you know, looking back now, it wasn't very smart or responsible, but that's what happens when you give a young kid.
So this is brilliant, though. I love this story because
I drove it right onto that video shoot.
I love this whole your mindset behind getting the deal done and getting your foot in the door, because so many people wouldn't have that idea of like, let me act like I'm a journalist at a school and wanting to do a story around this company.
It was deceitful though. Like, I feel bad talking about it now, but you know what it was?
But I think it's
Atlanta. It was fake it till you make it.
It's hustle too.
It was fake it till you make it. You know what it was? It was the opening scene of Schindler's List. You know, I'm actually serious. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors, so I always had an interest. But that opening scene affected me in a different way than the rest of the movie, because the opening scene, Schindler spent all his money to his name to impress the German executives so that he actually got the government contracts, because they thought he was something that he wasn't. And that's pretty much what I did with hip-hop in Atlanta. Sure. I would spend all the money I made on my Thursday night parties with college kids on Tuesday night at Alex's party at the Velvet Room where I was the only white boy with all the rappers and everything else, and they were amused. They let me in for free because they were amused that I was showing up.
Right. They're like, who's this white boy?
Because back then Atlanta was kind of segregated as far as how they party, but I was from the north.
So you didn't care.
So I didn't. I mean, I got, my family's very diverse. I didn't see it. But they saw me like popping the bottle and hanging out with these girls, and the truth was I wasn't drinking anything.
Sure.
But I was faking it until I make it. I'd send them bottles, and they'd say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I want to come to your party." And then I started mixing things up, and I grew my business, and it was a wild time.
Now, I heard you talking about your family, and I know family's really important to you. And is it true you have family tattooed on your wrist?
Yep, right here.
There you go. Now, how has family shaped you, and why is it so valuable to you?
Well, funny enough, today is the 35th anniversary of my parents.
I saw your Instagram photo.
So,
congrats to Irv, Big Irv.
So I actually meant what I wrote. I wrote that they showed me what real love is. To have parents that really, truly love each other and are good to each other. It's such a blessing because it's so rare in today's world.
Yeah.
And to witness that growing up and to have that love, all the time, I always felt full. You know what I mean? I always felt safe in a way because you have that love from your family. And, I'm a big person about studying happiness and trying to figure out how to become content in life. Even though I think life is a journey, it's ups and downs.
Yeah.
You just got to understand that once you understand, it's kind of there's this idea in Kabbalah where you have to rise where God is, where it's kind of enlightened. He's looking over the valley. You're in this kind of tight ravine of like a thing. Imagine a Grand Canyon, but really tight.
Yeah.
So you can't see what's around the next corner. So it seems scary. But if you can rise above and kind of see where all the turns and where the ending is, it's not nearly as scary. And that's kind of what life is. Like once you start to realize it's going to be okay and you'll get through those turns and there are ups and downs, but tomorrow will come, I think you get happier. And I think what family has taught me is there's always this steadiness. And I think if you can provide, for your family, if you can build a family, which I'm now doing with my wife, we're due with our first child. You do all this stuff, but what's it really worth? And I think the only real legacy in life is family and charity. And when you asked me earlier, kind of if I had a 5-year plan, I can tell you, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but
no, it's good.
For me, my perspective is I just wanted to leave a mark on the world. I wanted to leave something positive because I don't, I think you only get a short time on this planet, and what's it worth unless you can do something,
right?
And I understand. One of my mentors said, "No one's going to remember you in 100 years. No one's going to remember me. No one's going to remember you, but they'll feel our impact."
Yeah.
And who might remember me is my children. And so the idea of family, the idea of working your ass off to share it with someone else is what makes it worthwhile. So to me, it's everything. I mean, it's, and I don't even think I comprehend what that means until I meet this kid in February. But family is everything. And I think, you look at a lot of third world countries, and a lot of people don't realize. I watched this documentary, Happy, the other day, which is really
it's a great documentary.
And they talk about how our nation in the last 50 years has gone up 50% out in wealth. How we are richer than we were 50 years ago by 50%, but our happiness per capita has gone up less than 1%. And I think it's because we chase the dollar, but we don't understand what the dollar is for. And money is an amazing thing. It can be actually a complete release and an avenue to freedom.
Sure.
But it can also trap you at the same time. You get caught in the rat race. And I think family is that thing that you always need to know that comes first. And if you do that, you're going to live a happier life.
So in your 20s, it sounds like you were chasing building things in your life, making money, hustling. Yeah. It wasn't as much about building a family, obviously.
But I tattooed this on my wrist when I was 20.
Wow. Interesting.
No, actually, hold on. No, I wasn't 20. Hold on. Let me think. Was I 20? It was the day after Jay Williams had his motorcycle accident.
Oh, wow.
So it was June 19th or June 20th that I did it because Jay is one of my closest friends, and I found out what happened to him, and I chickened out about getting a tattoo a couple of weeks earlier. And my mom had unfortunately got a little bit sick. She's okay now. And I realized everything I'm saying now, and I'm actually glad because once again, this tattoo brings us back to it. I tattooed family on my wrist, my only tattoo, because I said I wanted an invisible place for the rest of my life. People will ask me about this tattoo, which you just did.
Yeah.
And I will have to tell this story of why I got it, which is this simple, and it will remind me for the rest of my life. I was lost, and I was chasing the dollar, and I was chasing the money, and because I didn't really understand. I was just going for it.
Yeah.
And what I realized was all I'm doing it for is this. So I'm going to tattoo it on my wrist. So for the rest of my life, I'll get asked this question. And for the rest of my life, I will be reminded of what's really important.
Did something shift when in your mindset and your energy or any way of being when you realized that Yael was pregnant?
Yeah, completely.
What shifted for you?
You start to realize, and I think as a man, which I've been told by everyone, and I think it's true, you don't really understand until you see the child. It's not inside of me.
Sure.
So I'm excited, but I'm not like, I can't comprehend until I think I meet them.
It's gonna be crazy.
And I'm really excited about that. But what you start to realize is, you can live for other people. You can do charity. You can, I manage, so I have to. I'm helping people a lot. I'm helping. That my job is to help people achieve their goals.
Yeah.
But I think what I realized when my wife got pregnant was, for the first time in my life, my wife's an adult. She can fend for herself.
Yeah.
And if you know my wife, she can really fend for herself.
She's great. Yeah.
When you become a father, you start to have this idea of, oh my God, my life is no longer mine. For the rest of my life, there's never going to be a selfish decision again. You can't call me and say, yo, Scooter, we're going to Vegas. You want to come with us?
Let's go play basketball right now.
Yeah, every decision I make for the rest of my life, I have to consider how that affects someone who depends on me.
Wow.
Like truly depends on me. And that has made me respect other fathers. The moment she got pregnant, I started looking at friends of mine who are great businessmen who have kids. And I've worked my ass off, but I've been able to be selfish in my time.
Of your own time.
Yeah.
No one to look out for.
No one to look out for, really. Like, even my wife's an adult. Like, I can do what I need to do to make it happen.
Sure.
And I look at some of these guys who have multiple kids, which I want, and they're at the kids' baseball game, and they're here, and then they're still handling all this business.
And they're present, too. And
completely. I have so much respect for them, and I need to pull from their wisdom, because I'm scared of how am I going to pull it off, but I have to pull it off. There's no other option. And my buddy Charlie Walk has 4 kids, and he is a workaholic like me. And I hit him the other day when I was thinking about this, and I said, Charlie, I have so much respect for the fact that you work like this and have 4 kids.
Right.
And I, because he's a present father.
Sure.
And I think that is the ultimate thing. That's why I look at people like Jeffrey Katzenberg and Richard Branson as role models, in a sense, because these are very successful businessmen, but they have great kids.
Yeah.
Great kids who are adults, and they love their father. And I think that's the ultimate test of success.
If you would have had, been married when you were 23, 25 and had a child, then do you feel like you would be as successful in your business career and done as much now? Or do you feel like it would have shifted a lot of the decisions you made in the last 5 years?
I would love to say yes, because people say that when you have a kid, you grind even harder. That's what I've been told. Because
Gary Vee says that too.
Yeah, like you grind even harder. But I'd have to say no if I was really being honest with myself, because I had to be present, because my acts are so young. I had to be present for them at that age.
They were like your kids almost.
Yeah, and I had to be present for them. And I don't think I would have been able to do the things I needed to do at the time I was building my business.
Yeah.
Because now what took me 6 months before, I can do in a phone call, because I've earned.
You got the leverage.
It's not even, you earn it.
Yeah.
You earn equity in your relationships and time and the hard work you put in.
Sure.
But back then I had to earn it, and I think that's actually why I wasn't ready to have a family back then, because I knew it wasn't the right time. But now I'd be a complete hypocrite if I wasn't a good dad at this point. Because if I can't give my kid the time he needs at this point in my life, then everything I worked for, I'd be a hypocrite.
What's the point, right?
Yeah, what's the point? So, but at the same time, I have amazing artists and people that I work with, because we're all like a family, and they're so excited to meet my kid too. And I think my child will grow up in this fabric of these relationships. Like, my artists are going to be uncles and aunts to them.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a fun ride. It's a fun life.
That's cool. Yeah. What you talked about mentors. Who are your mentors right now? And do you think it's really important that everyone has a mentor or coaches supporting them?
I think sometimes people say they have one mentor. I've never had one mentor. If I had one mentor, it would be my father. I think I've learned more from him on how to be a man.
Yeah.
And that has helped me more so in business than probably anything. So I'd say he's the ultimate mentor to me. But I have really great mentors in in Jeffrey, Katzenberg, who I asked, how do you get a family like this? And he gave me really great advice. He pointed a picture of his wife, and he said, get one like that. And then, great mentors and people like Lucien Grange, who's the chairman of Universal Music Group, who I'm very close with, who's been an incredible mentor and friend.
Yeah.
And then, I have people, just friends I draw from. But, I read a book about David Geffen when I was 19, and that really inspired me and made me want to go into this business.
Sure.
And now David has become someone who's become a mentor to me.
Wow.
And someone who I can draw from. And every single time I get advice from him, whether he's yelling at me or, sharing stories, I'm just appreciative, because to be able to meet the people that inspired you is a really beautiful and incredible thing.
Yeah.
And especially when they offer you the guidance that you always wanted from them.
Yeah.
So, those kind of people, I'm eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Because I draw from people, but sometimes my grandfather worked my grandmother worked in a sweatshop 15 years when my dad grew up. And my grandpa was a refugee and kind of did odd jobs. And, and I know where I come from. And I think that I was always taught you treat the CEO and the janitor the same.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of wisdom you can get from all kinds of people. And sometimes the best advice I've gotten from mentors is I'll be in a random country in a car with a driver.
The cab drivers always have the best advice.
Dude, and sometimes you'll talk to somebody and you'll just start sharing because they're a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And they will give you a piece of wisdom.
Little nugget, man.
A little nugget.
So good.
Yeah, and
it just clicks with you. You're like, what?
Yeah, you never know. It's the Plato quote that made me, funny enough, my wife said, and that's why I wanted to meet her. She tweeted it. I saw it. I wanted to meet her. But it's that idea that be kind, for everyone you meet walks a hard journey.
Wow.
And you never know where you're going to, get that greatness from.
Sure.
So
that's a good word.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Now, your dad, you said he taught you about what it means to be a man. What does it mean for you to be a man today?
Good husband, good father. I think everything else is secondary. I think if at the end of the day, if I die and people say, oh, you're so successful, look at everything you achieved, and my kid and wife walk up there and they say I was a piece of shit, you're a failure. But if I lose everything and they walk up there and they said he was a great father, a great husband, I think I'm a success.
And what about for someone who's not a father or a husband yet? What's the definition of being a good man?
Being a definition of a good man to me is, life is not black and white. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
But understand your end game. Do things with integrity. Incorporate giving back into things that you do, because it will. I think it's really good karma.
Yeah.
In our business, everything we do has to have a charitable component.
Yeah.
And what is the idea of being a good man? I think the best way to be a good man is to simply live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you want done unto you.
Sure.
If you just live by the golden rule, I think you'll be okay.
Right. And when did you decide that you wanted to have a charity component to everything that you do? Because I read this about you as well, that every investment you bring on, it's like you've got to have something involved.
I think my mother instilled that in us when we were very young. Even funny enough, it's Hanukkah. And when I was a kid, Hanukkah was 8 days, still is, hasn't changed. But my mom always said, one day of presents, one day of charity. So we got 4 presents, and we got 4 charities that we would choose as a family. And sometimes we would give money to the charity. Sometimes we would go to the soup kitchen and volunteer. But we always had to have 4 days of charity. That was something very important to my mom. So in my parties, every 4th party, I gave the money to charity.
Wow.
So I worked with a lot of on-campus charities and certain things like that.
Cool.
Because I always thought it made people feel, oh, he's a piece of shit promoter, this, that, and the other. But they'd feel good and say, okay, well, at least he's doing this.
Right.
And when I started putting that into our business and our artists, and look, I'm really proud. I know Justin's gone through a lot of crap this year, but he's the #1 Make-A-Wish giver in history of any musician ever, and he's only 20 years old.
That's impressive.
So people can say what they want, but he has taken that idea of giving and dove in head first. And I see it with Ariana. I see Martin Garrix. Yeah. Listen, we went down to do Ultra. Every other DJ's partying their ass off. And these are all good guys. I'm not talking crap. But I asked Martin, I said, would you mind if we did something good in the community? Miami has a lot of very poor communities. Let's go to one of these community centers and teach kids how to DJ. And Martin went and did that. And he at first was like, what are we doing? You know, he's a young kid. He never done anything like that before. And he said to me afterwards, he was like, that's the most fun I've ever had.
Wow.
And I think that a lot of people want to give. They're just not given the opportunity and they don't know how.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in giving and being of service. And I feel like that's a key to greatness.
Hold on. Let me say something to your listeners real
Sure.
quick. I want you guys to understand, you listen to this man's podcast all the time, but I want to tell you why I actually know this man. Because he started to do well in his life and make some money. And the first thing he did is he reached out to my brother and said, I like this charity. I want to get involved. And every single year he builds schools. Every single year he gives back. So when you're listening, it goes right back to the beautiful, beautiful man sitting in front of me.
Yeah, and there's a couple
Pictures.
couple schools.
Yeah, a couple schools that he's built.
I just built one last week.
So what I'm saying is, feel good about what you're listening to in this podcast every week. And the reason I came to do this is because this is someone who gets it, that understands that you get what you give. And I feel like you live the same way as I do, which is you are probably like me. We're both very selfish individuals. And let me say what I mean by that.
I think I know where you're going.
Listen, you like to feel good.
Of course.
And I think in our society, this is way off topic, so I'm sorry again.
It's all good.
But in our society, I think, God, I'm talking a lot today. In our society, I think we get told it's okay for the CEO of a cigarette company to make millions of dollars. But the moment someone works in a nonprofit and makes more than $100,000, it's despicable.
Yeah.
So our brightest and smartest people in the world, they can't work in the giving. We call it nonprofit. My brother calls it for purpose. Because why should you call it something that it isn't? You know, don't say the negative of something that's good. Say the positive. It's for purpose.
It's not against war. It's for peace.
100%. And I think when I say that we're selfish, it's because we should tell our kids, I'm going to tell my kid this, that, you know, you should do things that make you feel good. And drugs aren't going to make you feel good. That's short-lived, everything else, party and drinking, all that stuff. You will never feel as good as when you're giving back.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be selfish about that. It's okay to want to celebrate that.
Sure.
To say, you know what, there are the pictures of the schools I built when you walk into my house. You should feel good about that. You should be able to share that. And when people say you should only give and no one know, look, I think you should do that 50% of the time. But the other 50%, you should be giving in a way people know so it inspires others to give. And I think, you know, I get off on giving.
Yeah.
So, you know, why not do that? It makes me feel good. If you have a problem with me feeling good about giving, go fuck yourself.
Right. And what about people that say they don't have any money to give? They're, you know, maybe
you can give your time. Be nice to a stranger. Open a door.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways to help somebody. You know, call a friend that you think, you know, unfortunately, I've lost 2 really close people to me to suicide. And I probably should have picked up that phone a week earlier. And you can't blame yourself or anything like that, but you call somebody that you care about who might be going through a tough time and just speak to them. People need outlets. And there's so many different ways, you know, and things that you'll do that you don't, like years later, people have come up to me and said, hey, you did this. I don't even remember doing it. And the truth is, because it was just this little thing. And, you know, I have those people in my life where I say to them, Steven Spielberg, I was 14 years old. I made this little documentary. Somehow someone gave it to him. It was a piece of crap 10-minute documentary, but he liked the subject. And he wrote a letter to me that changed my life. It was from Steven Spielberg. I was 14. It made me believe that I could do anything. And years later, I met Steven Spielberg, and I told him, this is like a little nothing letter he wrote one day.
That he probably forgot.
Yeah, forgot. Like, who cares, you know? Funny enough, Steven Spielberg, it was crazy. He actually remembered the subject. He couldn't believe that I was the kid, but he remembered the subject. But that little letter that was nothing for him changed my entire life.
Wow.
So, you know, I think you always hear about you hear about big businessmen who killed themselves because they lost millions of dollars, right?
But they had $1 billion already.
Yeah, but do you ever hear about anyone working in a soup kitchen? Like my buddy Sean Stevenson, who you know, told me that.
Yeah.
I heard him say that. I thought it was so brilliant because you never hear about people experiencing severe depression.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I was talking earlier about third world countries. They're happier than us.
So happy.
Because they're giving to each other. They're experiencing things. And, you know, we're the only creature on the planet that takes more than we need. And that's fine. There's a lot of fun you can have with that. Trust me. You know, I enjoy art. I probably don't need every piece of art, but, you know, I enjoy it.
I heard you have a Mickey Mouse sculpture or something you got.
I just love Mickey Mouse, man. I love it. Walt Disney. I saw it on your wall, and I loved it.
You like that?
But yeah, I'll let you ask your questions now because I'm talking too much.
No, it's good. I'm glad you're sharing.
Are we doing okay, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm glad you're sharing. I want to talk about. I mean, service for me is very important.
Can I get a T-shirt too?
I've got one laid out for you right behind you.
Okay, I'll shut up now. I got my T-shirt. Get my free swag.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great workout shirt to play basketball in.
Yep.
Talk about building relationships and building teams. You're a master at giving to people, adding value, and building relationships. And do you believe that you can build something so big or build an empire without a powerful team or without empowering others around you and supporting a team?
No, I think it was actually one of the hardest things for me because for the first for the first 7-8 years I really built it, on my own.
Yeah.
And then with Allison Kay, she's my GM now. She was the first person that ever came work with me, and it was, I didn't even have an office till 3 years ago. We built the whole thing virtually, on laptops and cell phones, and traveling around the world in hotels and buses and planes. But what I realize now is no one will ever do it exactly the way you want because no one is you.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you do it better. It means the way you want it, you're the only one who can do that because you're you. And what you need to be okay with in scaling is saying, you know what, they might drop the ball. Because when you drop the ball, it's you. It doesn't bother you as much. When someone else does, you go crazy.
That it affects you.
Yeah, but you got to realize the only way to scale is to delegate and to empower others and to say, you know what, they're not going to do it exactly like me, but they're going to do exactly like them.
Sure. And
I have to be okay with that. And in fact, they might do it better than me in the long run. And I've been able to bring in some amazing people in my life and surround myself with people I think who are skilled in ways that I am not.
Sure.
And we've been able to scale an incredible business because they make things happen. Scott Manson, who works with me, he is responsible for Scorpion. Him and a guy named Danny Rose. But Scott found Walter. He believed in it. He got me to understand it. But it was his baby. And if it wasn't for Scott, I would not be executive producing a TV show right now. It was.
And you have another one coming up, right?
Yeah, we have a couple others. But that's also because the people in the business who are scaling, I just really smart, capable people who believe in what we're doing, and I believe in them. And sometimes they'll drop the ball, sometimes I'll drop the ball.
Yeah.
But you have to, that's the same idea as when we played basketball. It's like, sometimes you're going to make a great assist, and a guy's going to miss that easy shot. And you're going to be frustrated because that was another assist for you on your stat line. But at the end of the day, it isn't about our stat line. It's about winning the game. And you cannot win a game on your own.
Unless everyone wins.
Unless you're Wilt Chamberlain.
What is the best, or how do you empower your team to raise to the next level, to get the most out of them? What are some things you do to let them know they are appreciated, they're seen?
One, I think you have to empower them. You have to let them know that people can't call you and go around them. Even if you agree, you have a private conversation and say, look, this is how I want you to deal with this. But you have to let people know that they're the end all be all on that decision, on the thing that you've given them, the task you've given them. They're the ones who will decide how it's going to go down. You'll advise, you can take part, but it's their decision at the end, because then
give them ownership.
Yeah, give them ownership. Make them bosses.
Yeah.
Let them know that you will believe in anything that they dream of once, maybe twice. But if it fails, then they start to have a reputation, and then you got to reassess things. But if they say, look, I know you're not really sure about this, but just give me a shot. That's how I got started. Steve Rifkin gave me a shot with Asher Roth. Wow. Didn't understand it at first. Everything else, he gave me a shot, and then we went on a great ride together.
Wow.
L.A. Reid gave us a shot.
Bieber, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We built that kind of huge online anyway beforehand. Sure. But, it's you have to give people that shot because you are in the position you are in because someone else gave you a shot.
And how do you find the right people?
The right people?
How do you find people that are, going to make a difference, that are going to step up? And
okay, so I'm a firm believer that it's more important to have positive energy around you than the smartest people. Now, luckily, I've been able to have, in my opinion, some of the smartest people around me.
And positive.
But that's actually more important. I learned that lesson the hard way because I had some negative in my life before, and you start to question yourself because negativity projects onto you. You start to look in the mirror and say, am I really a good person? Am I doing the right thing? Wow. And that isn't you. That's their bullshit feeding onto you.
Sure.
There's this scientific study I read recently. Funny enough, our friend Sophia Bush put this online about the idea that the heart creates an 8-foot pulse
of energy. Wow.
And the brain creates, I think, 5 feet pulse, but the heart actually is 8 feet.
And you can feel it.
You can. So when someone walks in a room and you say, "Wow, that person walked in a room and I felt their energy," that's actually a real thing. So when someone has negative energy, it's going to bring you down.
Wow.
So I think it's more important to get loyal people that love you, people to surround yourself. And they'll say, you ask me how you create a good team. They say, don't mix business with pleasure. I absolutely think the opposite. I think that's BS. I think if someone cares about you, and when it's 11 o'clock at night, and they need to spend an extra hour in the office to get it done, they're going to stay because they care about you.
Sure.
Because they know you give a shit about them. And I think that is how you create a really good business, because in today's world, you're going to have to make tough decisions. You're going to have to be a boss. You're not their best friend. Right. But if you believe in someone, they'll believe in you.
Sure. Interesting. What about your daily rituals? Do you have any that are like you feel like everyone should be following? Do you meditate?
I take a piss. I take a piss every morning. To
build positive habits. I mean,
no, it's a positive habit. You got to pee in the morning. It's very important. You got to clean out.
That's true.
You know what's funny? I put that Steve Jobs. My buddy John Chu gave me a poster of Steve Jobs. John. Great guy. Actually introduced me to my wife. Great director. Wow. We've done a couple projects together now.
We played Cards Against Humanity at your wife's house before you were engaged.
Yeah.
With John.
He's just a great guy. He gave me a poster for a housewarming gift for my last house of Steve Jobs' speech. The
commencement speech?
No.
One or the one?
The famous speech from the commercial.
Oh, yeah.
That John knows by heart. About the type of people in the world.
Yes. The movers, the shakers, or something like that.
Yeah, it's, God, I'm going blank. I'm having a brain fart right now. I usually know it. But it's this idea that the dreamers in this world.
The misfits, right?
The misfits, the dreamers, that, they're the ones who achieve.
Yeah.
It's this idea that nothing, kind of the way I like to put it, is, and I've heard it from other friends, is, nothing reasonable ever becomes great. It's the unreasonable things that become great. It's stepping out of that status quo. And, I think that is part of my ritual. I actually put it up above my toilet. Because I say I pee every morning. Because I do pee every morning.
That's perfect.
So I actually put that poster up above my toilet. And in my new house, I told them you have to install this above the toilet. and I, when I go to pee every morning, I just read it one more time. And I remind myself, okay, let's go out in the world and do cool shit.
Yeah, I watched your interview with Sean Stevenson, and you said never be realistic. You have to be unrealistic to achieve something great. And I think you stole that from Will Smith.
I did. And a couple other people.
Other people said the same thing, but that's cool.
I steal a lot of things, man.
Okay.
No, look, I think the most great ideas have already been thought, because we've been here a long time, and we say them in different ways. But that's okay. We have to draw from the wisdom of the past. And I think too many times we try to create. And what you should do is innovate. It's all been kind of laid out for us. Just innovate and create the new idea off of something great.
Recreate the idea in some other way.
Yeah, it's, how many songs someone created the guitar, and then we've created so much beautiful music off the guitar.
Sure.
So, it's innovate with what you're given.
I like that. A couple questions left for you, because I know you got to move houses. What are you most grateful for recently, Scooter?
Oh, my family. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting a family. That's an easy answer. It's a wild feeling to know that 3 years ago I didn't know if this would ever happen to me. Because I think someone, probably like yourself as well, if you say to us, hey, I have a mission for you, and there's 0.0001% chance you'll achieve it, I will smile and say, where do I sign up? Because the idea that it's so hard, but there is an answer, is exciting for me.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to figure it out. Because that's actually a task that you're telling me it's achievable. It's just hard. Okay, I think I can do that.
Sure.
Falling in love, finding the right person, starting a family, that there is no 0.001. It is either happens to you or it doesn't. And that's something very frustrating for someone like me, because I want to go and create my own destiny.
Sure.
But that isn't, it's either given to you or it isn't. And I think that if you live well and you're a good person, you'll find that. And I was very blessed to have found. I actually told my wife on our first date I was going to marry her.
Wow. That's ballsy.
Yeah. She asked me, what's the scariest thing about yourself you don't want me to know? And about 10 minutes earlier, I had this feeling about her. And I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think you're it. And now we're having a child together. We're madly in love. And I will say the most grateful thing in my life is to have beautiful friends and family in my life. I used to hate my birthdays because when they came, I felt like I hadn't achieved everything that I wanted. And I think my 30th birthday and every birthday since, my buddy Kenny's in the room and he's been with me since like the ATL days.
Of course.
Every birthday I look around the room and I see all those friends and the people in my life and my family, and I'm just so grateful. So yeah, friends and family.
I love it. What is something small you've done that maybe no one really knows about that you're really proud of? It could be a personal or business related, but something small that you've done that you haven't talked about or hasn't been, blown up by Bieber, but you're like, and I'm really proud of this moment.
The thing I would like to say, I'm proud because no one knows, and I'd want to keep it that way.
Okay.
So I'll tell you one that makes me proud, but it isn't that the thing. Because the things that usually make me really proud that no one knows, I take pride in the fact that no one knows.
Sure.
And I'll go to my grave with them. Maybe I'll tell my kids.
But something that only a few people know.
Look, here's something that, I don't know. It's not really what you're expecting, but I really enjoy the achievements of others at this point. When, my artists achieve something for the first time, I get a real joy out of that.
Yeah.
I get a joy out of seeing my younger managers get their first platinum plaque, because I got that a long time ago, and that first time I'll never get back, but I get to live it through them. So, I think the little things that I get joy out of don't seem like they should be that significant, but I get serious joy out of them because they aren't mine. But I get to relive that moment through someone else's joy. So yeah, I
like that. That's cool. What are the 3 biggest moments in your business career that gave you the most excitement over the last 10, 12 years?
Once again, a lot of those are things I can't talk about.
Okay. Well, let me say the game changers.
Like I'm saying, some of those game changers are deals that you pull off where, it's out of confidentiality to your clients. You can never tell anybody. But it's that chess game of getting it done that's so exciting.
Of course.
Look, I think a game changer for me that I can talk about was getting Asher's record deal and publishing deal. That was a game changer for my business, help finance everything else, and getting to pull that off. And it was the first deal for my own company. That was huge. Yeah. Getting when they were chanting his name, his first time he played the Garden during the Z100 show. Wow. And he hadn't been on stage, and between every actor chanting Justin, and like everybody just wanted him on stage.
So there are lots of other acts beforehand.
Oh yeah,
and they were all just chanting.
John Mayer ended his set early because he goes, "I know what you guys want."
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, and it was funny. He was funny about it, but I remember that because my mom, who I never graduated college and it broke her heart, leaned over to me and said, "Tonight's my graduation."
Oh my gosh. That just gave me chills.
And it meant a lot to me because finally my mom understood that I was achieving something and I was going to be okay.
Wow. Yeah.
And Justin, that experience with Justin gave me that. And I told Justin about it. I was like, I'm eternally grateful for you because you gave me that opportunity to have that moment with my mother. And then another big game changer in business. I mean, there have been a lot of them.
It seems like every day you've got a big hit now, a big game changer.
I think a big game changer in business for me, I'm trying, because there's been a lot of moments. There's been a lot of moments, but I can't really talk about a lot.
Maybe something in the last couple of years.
Was Steve Rifkin. Steve Rifkin, I said Jermaine gave me an opportunity. No one would give me a record deal. LA gave me the record deal also because I was very successful with Asher at that point, so he wanted to be in business with me. But when I had Asher Roth, I was known as a young marketing guy, and people said, "What do you know about A&R signing your own acts?" And I was really the one building acts at SOSADEF. People didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Steve Rifkin literally took a shot on me that no one else would. I mean, I had so many friends in the industry. I had made so many people money, and no one would give me a record deal. And Steve Rifkin did. And
why do you think what did he see in you that made him want to give you a chance?
I talked earlier about sometimes you got to give people a shot because you believe in them. Someone else gave you a shot. And I think Steve saw that in me, and he gave me that opportunity. And I want to say this because I want the whole world to know this. This is the kind of man Steve Rifkin is, and why I will always say he's the shit and he is the man. Last year, I was planning right after New Year's to propose to my wife, and I was overseas. And I got word that Steve Rifkin had a heart attack. And now he's gotten much healthier, and he's in a really good place. And when I found out, he had already had the heart attack 10 days earlier, but I was overseas, so I didn't know. So I called from my beautiful little villa overseas. I'm hanging out with my wife, loving my wife now, but my soon-to-be fiance at that point, loving my life. And I call this guy in a hospital to make sure he's okay. And he gets on the phone and he goes, "Wow, I'm so glad you called. I've written an email to you 7 times and erased it 7 times. I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "At this point in my career, after Wu-Tang, after Big Pun, after all the things I've done, I feel like giving you a shot and being associated with you is one of the biggest things I've ever done in my career."
Wow.
And I said, "Steve, that's very nice. You don't need to say that." He goes, "No, you need to hear what I'm saying." He goes, "Scooter, I have 3 beautiful children, and I had a stroke. I had a heart attack, and I almost died. And I was in ICU and everything else." And he goes, "All I kept thinking about when I thought about different things, I kept going back to you and saying, I don't want to ever see him in this hospital bed.
Wow.
And I never want to see him put himself into a place where he's not taking care of himself and this happens to him. So Scooter, all of it isn't important if you don't take care of yourself and if you're not there for your kids. Because if I would have lost my life, my kids would have grown up without their father." And here I was, I get emotional thinking about it. I'm enjoying with my beautiful, smart woman a vacation. This guy's in a hospital bed. He's more worried about me.
Wow.
And that is a testament to the type of person he is. And I was shook that entire night. I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about that. I want to be that kind of man that thinks about others the way he thought about me. And I will, not only did he give me a chance, he's continued to believe in me. And I will always be grateful, and I will always be a friend to Steve Rifkin because he's just a great man, a great father, and a great friend.
I love that. Couple final things. First, I want to acknowledge you, Scooter. You are you're playing such a big game in the world, and your heart is so big. I don't think people know this much about you, but your heart is so big. You give and give and give, and I want to acknowledge you for the vision you have. You have incredible vision, and you have a gift of seeing something before it's actually created and then making it happen and doing whatever it takes. And I think if more people followed you and learned how you do this, they would all learn a lot about how to be successful in their own lives. So I just want to acknowledge you for showing up so big in the world every single day, for showing up for your family, for your brother, for your siblings, your parents, and all your friends. Like, I watch it from afar. I hear about it every now and then. You just do so much for the world, and I acknowledge you for that. So
Thanks,
I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
Wow, that's a tough question. When it's all said and done, like I said, I hope they look back and say I was a good dad and good grandpa, all that different stuff, good husband. I hope people feel like what you just said. That would be a good legacy for me. A thing like, the idea of why not. The worst thing in life that's going to happen to you when you try something is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So go after your dreams, especially when you're young. And I feel like until you have children, you can live for yourself and you can be as aggressive about your dreams as you want.
Yeah.
Be selfish about your dreams.
Yeah.
And when you have a child, you have to understand now you're living for them and you have to be more conservative. But while you're young, all these young people who listen to you, because I know they do, my advice to them is very simple. Go after it while it's just about you.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to fail. And guess what? You get to wake up tomorrow and start again.
Yeah.
And that's a lot better than most people are.
Sure.
So, I think I want my legacy to be something about positivity and just, one of my mentors is right. Most likely 100 years from now, no one's going to remember my name. But I hope that I did enough in this world that they'll feel my impact.
That's powerful. That gave me chills. Final question. It's what I ask all my guests at the end.
Yeah.
What's your definition of greatness?
You. No. You're like, I'll take it. Cut off the interview. My definition of greatness is so I posted something on my Instagram the other day.
Uh-huh.
Did you read about the dogs?
I'm sure I
Okay,
do.
so it's this.
Check it out.
I'm trying to remember it, but it was something about, that two dogs walk into this house, and one comes out happy, wagging its tail, and the other one comes out growling and nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman is really confused about. They both walked into the same house. Like, what the hell just happened? So she walks in and she sees the house is filled with mirrors, and she realized that one dog saw a reflection of himself filled with happiness, and he came out happier because he saw 1,000 happy dogs looking at him.
Wow.
And the other dog walked in and was miserable and saw 1,000 angry dogs, and it lifted his anger, and he walked off pissed off. And I think my definition of greatness is the idea of giving with positivity. And it's not enough to just go out there and give. You got to give in a way to the world that makes it better than where you left it. And so my idea of being great is, I work with somebody named Brad Haugen, who
Yeah, it's a great
Brad's
guy.
a great guy.
Great guy.
And he's a great father, great friend, and everyone who meets him, he leaves them better off than where they were before he got there. And I think Brad's a great man in that respect. So my definition of being great is pushing your limits as far as they can possibly go, and never stopping wanting to add positivity and then leaving a place better off than where you found it.
Scooter Braun, thanks for coming on, my man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate
it was fun.